Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third webinar of our new micro webinar series. In today's webinar, we're going to look at cloud computing homework checklist, a 10-step process that will help you to prepare for jumping into the cloud computing. This is presented by me, Mahesha Pandit, Program Manager for Scalable Systems with Digital Systems Knowledge Transfer Network. We are rendering this webinar using our webinar platform called gotomeeting.com. I would like to take all the questions at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions in between, please type them using the questions panel or the chat window, or simply raise your hand and then I will unmute you so that you can ask your question. As part of our digital systems KTN activities, we write many case studies of implementation of cloud computing. We interview several businesses to understand how they're approaching their cloud computing journey, what motivated them to move to the cloud, and so on. And every time we realize that there is no systematic procedure available to these businesses, and also the businesses are not looking for a systematic procedure to start their cloud journey. They either go by their own gut feelings and their own methodologies, or listen to the consultant who is helping them out. So we wanted to provide a practical, reasonable, and a decent beginning for cloud computing, minimizing risk at every step. The checklist is built using many elements from typical problems and typical dimensions a business faces when it wants to transform itself. Some of them are shown on the screen. So when we were doing this exercise, we realized that journey into cloud computing is more or less a business transformation, a business change management, which we have studied as part of our management education. So maybe 60% of it is typical business transformation, and there are 40% of things can be attributed to specific nuances from cloud computing area. So this checklist is designed keeping in mind the business transformation. So it has certain managerial elements and certain technical elements built into it, and helps you by being an end-to-end kind of checklist. So let's have a quick look at it. Checklist has 10 steps. So we begin with setting reasonable expectations. Then we take on 2 cleanup exercises wherein we clean up IT and data. And then we take up 4 specific steps related to cloud computing. And then take 2 steps to check where we are, and at the last we take up the process of communicating our readiness to going to the cloud with our stakeholders. This is a repeatable checklist. You can iterate through the checklist as many times as possible, and at the end of each iteration you can learn a lot and modify the checklist for your next iteration. And at the end of each step, you need to conduct risk assessment, which I'll cover at the end. So let's look at the steps very quickly. So we start by setting reasonable expectations. Today, we all know that how much hype is there around cloud computing, and there's a lot of confusion. Most of it is probably due to elevated or incorrect expectations from cloud computing. So it is very important to set reasonable expectations to start with. But the trouble is we don't know what to expect from cloud computing. So here are some of the things that you can expect from cloud computing. Um, the first set of expectations that you hear from cloud computing are probably negative. You know, it is yes, definitely it will help you to save some money, but there are security issues, and then you will lose control, and you cannot estimate the IT costs. There are limited features of software. The software available online is not as powerful as your desktop counterpart. Application performance may not be guaranteed. There are no SLAs, and so on. So some of these things are true, indeed true. But there are other positive things also. For example, due to increased collaboration within your own team members, the staff productivity could go up. You will own less, so thereby you will eliminate or reduce your physical assets and contribute to saving the environment, energy, and um, save the effort required to look after your IT. When you set these expectations, our recommendation is to set them relative to your current position. For example, if you have um, look at security. First, before expecting uh, highly secure services from the cloud, you have to look at what sort of security that you have right now within your IT infrastructure. Um, though you may fear that you might lose some of the positive benefits of security, it is also true in many cases of small and medium enterprises that actually going to the cloud helps their security situation. Okay. After setting these initial expectations, you start cleaning up your IT and data. The first problem with any large or medium or large and even a small scale enterprise is undocumented IT architecture. People don't know how many IT applications they have. Um, the dependency between the IT applications is not clear, and the architecture is not documented. Probably it is a PowerPoint slide or a list of applications in an Excel somewhere. So it is, you need to take stock of what you have and document the interdependencies between your IT applications. So in this exercise itself, maybe you can remove or merge several IT applications. So even if you don't go to the cloud at the end of the day, this exercise itself, this cleanup exercise itself will give you some benefits. Then look at data. Take up data cleanup. You may wonder why I have listed data as a separate step. I don't mean that it is not part of IT. I'm trying to say is that it deserves its own special focus. So you need to understand how data is produced within your enterprise, consumed, who is consuming what type of data, and what is happening to the data at the end of the day. First of all, when you say data, you should be very clear what type of data. What type of data are you talking about? Are you talking about data sensitive from legislative point of view? Are you having your customers' data, or are you having just a series of PowerPoint presentations and Excel files related to your finance and accounting? Or is it a collection of your engineering drawings? So it's important to understand what data you're dealing with. Our recommendation is to do three things with data. You understand what data you have, you liberate the data from the clutches of proprietary formats, geographical dependency, and machine dependency, and application dependencies. And once you liberate these data, you package the data in such a way that you can move them within your enterprise. If you cannot move the data within your enterprise, it is highly unlikely that you will be able to move it onto the cloud. Other important point in dealing with data is metadata. You have to, metadata is data about data. So you should be able to describe the element of data in as much detail as possible. This will help you later on to move data onto different parts of the cloud or different types of the cloud, or move the data packets between one vendor to the other, and so on. So these are the first 3 steps. Let's look at the next 3 steps. Now we are starting with virtualization. We all know that virtualization is the first step in going to the cloud computing. What is virtualization? I'm sure most of you know it, but I'll just repeat the definition just for records. Virtualization is separating resources and services from the underlying physical and delivery methods. So to put it in very simple words, it means decoupling software from hardware. So virtualization and cloud computing are the top 2 priorities for CIOs worldwide this year. They were not there last year, or they were not there the year before. Suddenly they have appeared this year as that too right away at the top slot as number 1 and 2 priorities. Virtualization, essentially what you do is you take one physical machine, create multiple logical partitions in it, and render different services or run different applications from each partitions. It gives you a lot of benefits, as you can imagine. It will reduce the number of physical machines, it will improve the hardware utilization, and so on. So it is very important for you to identify the candidates for virtualization. For example, you can attack the file servers first. They are the most ideal candidates for virtualizations. But be aware, there are certain things that you cannot virtualize. For example, your business intelligence applications, they are not ideal for virtualization because they consume a lot of hardware and software resources. Similarly, firewalls, spam filters, these things are not good candidates for virtualization. There are other troubles associated with virtualization. For example, they complicate your IT network, and you really need very talented administrators to look after your virtualized environment. Your capacity planning will go for a toss. Earlier, it was very clear. If you need one Microsoft Exchange, if you want to deploy Microsoft Exchange, it was very clear. You need one physical Microsoft Exchange server and one software called Microsoft Exchange. So there was 1:1 relationship. Now that is going to go away because one physical machine is going to have a lot of logical entities within. This could lead to certain licensing issues because till last year the licenses were applicable to physical machines and not to the logical software. And security situation may not improve. Don't expect any miracles, just because you're virtualizing, things won't become very secure. So there are associated security issues. And the other thing is, as you virtualize, you're creating a single point of failure. If you imagine a situation wherein you have virtualized everything and into 1 or 2 servers. So everything is focused in 1 or 2 servers. And if they go for a toss, your entire IT is at risk. So after identifying candidates for virtualizations and attempting some virtualization, you look at the rest of the cloud. Probably you have heard by now that there are several types of clouds: public, private, hybrid, you name it.